Hey everyone, welcome to today's episode. We're diving into a pretty fascinating topic, how President Joe Biden's team has been working behind the scenes to manage his image and responsibilities. Now let's be real, Biden made history as the oldest president ever sworn into office at 78 years old. Right away, people were talking about whether his age might affect his performance. Some praised his decades of experience, while others pointed to slip-ups and forgetfulness as signs that maybe he wasn't as sharp as he used to be. The buzz only got louder as time went on. Critics started asking, is his team just managing optics? Or is there more going on here? So today, we're peeling back the curtain and digging into what reports say about how his aides are helping him navigate the pressure of presidency. Before we begin the podcast, we are going to share a video of some of the items that people have seen. This is shared from the internet, and this is of the president and some of his difficulties that he has had.
My granddaughter's birthday in New York. Then we're going to watch a debate, and then tomorrow I'm doing 9/11. Now, who am I introducing next? Who's next? Thank you. Welcome to Washington. She beat Trump so badly in the debate, he's scared to death to beat her again. That's a fact. Mr. President Trump, former President Trump, get a life, man. Help these people.
Will you hold him accountable? You said you were going to hold those accountable.
Public will hold them accountable. You better than the press hold them accountable because you know the truth.
As smooth as it can get, and I very much appreciate that, Jim.
You're welcome. Thank you all. I mean, so I know this sounds bizarre. It sounds like if I said this 5 years ago, you'd lock me up. We got to lock him up. Politically lock him up. But I'm serious. These are the kind of guys you like to smack in the ass. I need that hat.
Want my autograph?
Hell no.
You know my name. Come on.
I ain't going that far.
Yeah. You said you would do a selfie. There you go.
No one should make the American people question whether their governments will make sure that this is acting on strikes. They'll be there. We will, all of us. Eric Dean of the Iron Workers. Tim Driscoll, a bricklayer. April Bell, the SEIU. And to the Gila Indian River community, the Gila, nothing wrong with me. Down to Chris Von Halen. What the hell's his name? He's new. Chris and I have been doing this for so many years now, it's getting old. Or at least I'm getting old. I'm Joe Biden's husband. And you can see she doesn't have any strong notions or ideas. You know, teaching is not the Puerto Rican that I know, or Puerto Rico where I'm in my home state of Delaware. They're good, decent, honorable people. The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters. His demonization of seen as unconscionable, and it's un-American. Well, Mr. President-elect and former President and Donald, congratulations. What's your name? Oh, is that right? All right. Well, thanks for being here. Have a seat, everyone. Remember the last guy when he was president, he said we have retired, he had every week, we're going to have infrastructure week.
Still a threat to democracy. What are you planning to talk with him about? What are you gonna tell to Trump?
Vai para o outro lado. Ele está pronto, vai.
I see you guys.
We felt over the next 10 years. We have legislation we passed. It's just only now just really kicking in.
What do the states in the storm zone need, Mr. President?
Okay?
What do the states in the storm zone, what do they need after what you saw today?
Oh, in the storm zone.
Yes, sir.
I'm wondering what storm they're talking about. They're getting everything they need. They're very happy across the board. Now, not only that, our fellow Americans are putting their lives on the line to do this dangerous work and receive death penalties. Some received death penalties yesterday as a result of reckless, irresponsible, relentless disinformation and outright lies that continue to flow. Being here, pal.
President Biden, do you think that you can get a hostage deal by the end of your term?
You think you can get hit in the head by the camera behind you? What am I doing?
So for those that were listening and not joining the video podcast, you can definitely see in the video, you can see some of the mannerisms and gaffes that were made by President Biden. That video was presented by On Demand News on YouTube, and they're located at On Demand News on YouTube. So let's go ahead and go back a little bit, and let's rewind a bit to the campaign trail. Remember how Biden spent a lot of time at home during the pandemic? It was chalked up to COVID safety, but skeptics thought it might have also been a strategy to limit unscripted moments that could go sideways. Fast forward to his time in office, and it looks like that careful planning didn't stop. Reports suggest that his team was super careful about scheduling appearances and structuring his days to keep things running smoothly and avoid missteps. By 2023, big outlets like the Wall Street Journal and the New York Post started publishing stories about how tightly managed Biden's daily schedule really is. Apparently, meetings happen late morning or early afternoon when he's most alert, and nights, they're usually off the table. This kind of scheduling sparked a lot of questions about whether Biden's stamina is up for the job. And then there's the prep work. Reports say Biden's team loads him up with notes, talking points, and even visual aids to keep him on track. Honestly, tools like that aren't unusual for politicians, but in Biden's case, the frequency raised some eyebrows. Critics wondered if it was more about covering for weaknesses than just being prepared. Supporters, though, said it was smart planning. Why not make sure he's set up for success? One standout example came from the Wall Street Journal. It talked about how Biden's team goes the extra mile to control the environment, screening reporters, limiting questions, and even keeping bad news out of his briefings to avoid distractions. Some say it's just smart PR. Others see it as a sign that the aides don't fully trust him to handle the unexpected. Take the special counsel interview about those classified documents. Reports say his team spent days prepping him, but leaks suggested Biden still struggled to recall details. It didn't exactly help quiet the critics. So that sets the stage for what's to come. Is this all careful planning, or does it point to something deeper? Stick with us as we dig into how Biden's inner circle really operates and what it means for his presidency. All right, let's talk about the crew running the show behind the scenes. Reports from the Wall Street Journal and the New York Post say Biden's closest aides, folks like Jeff Zients and Anita Dunn, have built a bubble around him to keep things predictable and under control. And let's face it, when you're the president, surprises aren't usually welcome. They've set up his schedule so he's at his sharpest, usually mid-morning to early afternoon. Meetings are pre-planned, and written briefings are the go-to method to keep him focused. Supporters say the setup avoids unnecessary mistakes and keeps things running smoothly. Critics, they think it cuts him off from the real decision-making process that makes him look overly protected. Another thing that stood out is how much his team uses visual aids. Flashcards, outlines, step-by-step notes for speeches and meetings. Now, using these tools isn't unusual, but in Biden's case, it's raised eyebrows because it seems like it happens a lot. People wonder, does he really need this much help, or is his team just playing it safe? Then there's the teleprompter situation. Biden's been known to stick closely to the script, and some say it makes him come off as stiff. Critics argue it shows he can't handle impromptu remarks, while supporters see it as a smart messaging in a high-pressure environment. Whether you think his team is playing it smart or just covering for him, it's clear they've put a lot of effort into managing his image. In the next segment, we'll look at how this plays out in public appearances and what it means for trust in the administration. So let's dive into what happens when Biden steps in front of the cameras. Reports say his team is all about keeping things scripted and tightly controlled. When he gives speeches, you'll often see him relying on teleprompters or note cards to stay on point. As for press conferences, what little they have had, the questions are usually pre-screened, which means his team knows exactly what's coming. Supporters say this is smart because it helps him stay focused and avoids any surprises. But critics argue it makes him look like he's being overprotected, almost like they're trying to shield him from the public eye. Others also say it makes him look weak and unable to handle things off the cuff. Then there's the body language. People have noticed moments where Biden seems a bit disoriented, like when he shuffles his feet or seems to need help getting off stage, kind of mimicking a Roomba. His team argues these moments are taken out of context or blown out of proportion, but critics see them as a part of a larger pattern, pointing to concerns about his mental sharpness. We saw some of these examples in the video that I provided. This whole situation boils down to the question of optics versus substance. Are these precautions really necessary to keep things running smoothly, or are they making something bigger? The debate. President Biden's performance in the 2024 presidential debate against Donald Trump turned out to be a crucial moment in his presidency. For many, the debate has been seen as a test of Biden's ability to defend his record and lay out his vision for the future. But in the end, the response was less than enthusiastic, with even some Democratic strategists expressing concerns about his composure and clarity. According to The Times, Biden had a hard time staying focused, frequently losing his train of thought or pausing mid-sentence. Critics pointed out his slower responses and signs of confusion when discussing key issues like inflation and foreign policy. Opponents jumped on these moments, claiming they were proof of cognitive decline, sparking more debate about his fitness for office. Supporters, however, argued that Biden was facing an overly hostile environment made worse by constant interruptions from his opponent. Still, the damage to his public image was hard to ignore. In the aftermath of the debate, political analysts noted a sharp drop in Biden's approval ratings, especially among independent voters. The Wall Street Journal reported that some Democratic leaders were privately starting to question whether Biden should stay on the ticket. This led to increased efforts from Biden's team to control the narrative, emphasizing his policy wins and downplaying the debate just as one bad moment instead of a sign of broader issues. Critics said the debate performance revealed deeper problems with how the administration was handling Biden's image. Despite heavy prep, including mock debates and rehearsed responses, the president still struggled under pressure, raising questions about whether his team's protective measures were enough. It also sparked more criticism of his inner circle, who were seen creating an environment where unscripted moments were limited, potentially leaving Biden unprepared for tough situations. Supporters, on the other hand, framed the debate as a learning experience, pointing to Biden's history of bouncing back from challenges. They reminded everyone that similar circumstances came up during the 2020 campaign, but they didn't stop him from winning. Even so, the debate's impact stuck with the people, reinforcing the idea that Biden's team was working overtime to hide his vulnerabilities rather than highlight his strengths. The debate performance remains a key moment in shaping how the public views Biden's presidency. It highlighted both the strengths and weaknesses of his team's approach, showing just how tough it is to manage a leader under constant scrutiny. The media's influence on how people view President Biden has sparked a lot of debate. Networks like CNN and MSNBC have been accused of downplaying concerns about Biden's health, while more conservative outlets like Fox News and the New York Post have played up the criticisms. This has created a split in the coverage, making it tough for the public to tell fact from speculation, and raising questions about media bias and the responsibility of journalists. Some reporters who initially defend Biden's abilities have since admitted they should have looked more closely at how his administration was handling things. For example, former CNN contributor Chris Cillizza, I hope I'm saying that right, said he wished he had pushed harder to look into Biden's cognitive health after seeing him make several public missteps. This has led to a larger conversation in the media about the role in covering the president's fitness for office. That said, some journalists argue that covering cognitive health is tricky from an ethical standpoint. There are medical privacy laws in place, and reporters don't have direct access to Biden's health records, so it is hard to verify the claims being made. Supporters of the president also argue that focusing on his age distracts from more important policy discussions and creates a narrative that prioritizes drama over real governance. On the other hand, an investigation by the New York Post brought more attention to these issues, showing the White House aides were controlling media access and carefully curating Biden's interactions with reporters. Critics say this limits transparency, but others argue it's necessary to keep the focus on legislation and avoid getting caught up in sensational headlines. The media's role in shaping how we view Biden underscores the complicated relationship between press freedom, accountability, and politics. As the administration continues to face intense scrutiny, the big question remains, is the media really working in the public's best interest or just spinning political narratives? As we wrap up today's podcast, it's clear that the way President Biden's team manages his public appearances and leadership style raises big questions about transparency, accountability, and how we govern. Supporters say these strategies are just a modern way of handling the complexities of leadership, helping the president stay focused on the big policy issues. But critics argue these methods put up walls that hinder real transparency, making people question whether Biden is fit for office. The conversation around the president's health, both mental and physical, is likely going to keep dominating the headlines. Whether these protective measures are seen as smart safeguards or signs of deeper vulnerabilities, they highlight just how tough it is to lead in today's world, where everything is under constant scrutiny. In the end, this whole discussion touches on bigger questions about democracy It makes us think about how we present leaders to the public and whether political strategies, and more about shaping optics than showcasing real authenticity. As voters and citizens, it's important for us to stay informed, push for transparency, and really think critically about what's being said by both the administration and the media. Ultimately, it's up to us to decide what is fact and what is fiction. We can't go along with the same narrative that we just hear. We have to take all the facts that we get, put them together, use our common sense, and then determine for ourselves what exactly is factual and what is fiction. Thanks for tuning in to this deep dive into the Biden administration's strategy. Be sure to join us next time as we continue to break down major political developments shaping our country. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. Got a story you want me to cover? Reach out on social media or via email, and I'll be happy to take a look at it. But for now, this is Nathan from Just a Dude Podcast. Stay informed, stay curious, and I'll catch you next time.